Hello, everyone, and welcome to this talk on the timeline for our final research project. I'm going to walk through the different steps that are going to be involved in this project, and I'm going to show you how to get to the handout online and how to fill that out. I thought I'd take you through our different steps first and kind of my thinking as far as why we're doing each one of those things. So let's get going. Well, first, my learning goals for this, or our learning goals for this, are really quite simple. First, we want to reinforce your appreciation of the process. I know that a lot of us have been habituated to just sort of slamming out our work the night before it's due, and I'm hoping that you'll see here that by thinking and reading and writing about this stuff over the course of a semester, and then taking your thoughts and compiling them in a series of drafts, it's less stressful, it results in better work, and you learn more about yourself, the research databases, and the text that you're analyzing. I want to make sure that you're choosing the stuff that you've liked over the course of the semester. I want to make it clear that you can choose any two primary texts from any point in the semester and pair them together for your final research project. And that can include any of the 8 final stories that we're going to be looking at as we're heading into the home stretch after spring break. The big thing we're going to learn on this is organization, though. Both organizing our thoughts, the steps of the process, and within the research project itself, the different pieces. Students who had me last semester will be reintroduced to the Ciceronian arrangement strategy, in which we begin with an exordium, we move on to a narration, a division, a proof, a refutation, and a conclusion. I would like all 6 of these parts to be in your final research project, and you to demonstrate an appreciation and understanding for each of how they operate differently. And finally, I want you to have an appreciation for collaboration. This idea that we have to write everything on our own and not consult the help of our peers or outside readers. It really needs to stop. Of course, you want to have your own ideas, but the way real writers work is they bounce ideas off each other. I'm in a writing group right now. We trade pages. I've traded pages on everything that I've published, and I want you guys to get into the habit and get comfortable with sharing your pages with one another. So we're going to have 4 different steps here. Each step is going to be weighted differently, and they're all going to have different deadlines. The first step is a primer worksheet. That's going to be due on Wednesday, April 15th. It is worth 15% of the total score, or if you're looking at a 1 through 10 scale, 1.5 points. The first draft is going to be due April 21st. It is going to be worth 20% or 2 points on our 10-point scale. Peer reviews are going to be due 5 days later. Those are going to be worth 25% of the project score, or 2.5 points. And then our final draft is going to be worth 40% of your final score. It'll be due on May 5th. That'll be sort of a 4-point project. I'll put together some scenarios at the end of this talk so you can see what I mean by 10 points, 1 point, all that. So let's first talk about the primer worksheet that's going to be due on April 15th. When we're doing this, and you'll see the prompts, and you're just going to have to answer the questions in the handout, the first thing we want to do is review the research that you've done from 1 or 2 of your annotated bibliographies. Roughly half the class, a little over half the class, chose to pursue an A or B in the class, and they therefore have 2 annotated bibliographies worth of primary reading and secondary research, and you can pull from those if you'd like. We want to identify some purposes for this. Again, we're always trying to teach our audience something new about appreciating the texts, and we want you to start thinking about what that ultimate purpose is going to be. And then we have 8 stories that we're going to be discussing. These are by contemporary authors, and for me, they're the easiest stories to understand, and they're the most fun. And these are folks that are living too. And I mean, we're all in quarantine right now and under house arrest or whatever you want to call it. we can maybe contact them. They might have the time to discuss their work with us. So anyway, this primer worksheet is going to be a short exercise. You'll post it to your classwork form, and it'll count as both an exercise and as 15% of your final research project. We then will move on to the first draft that'll be due 6 days later. Is where we start piecing things together, and I'm going to be looking to see whether or not you watched my video on the Ciceronian arrangement strategy. That's really our big thing, is structure on here and putting together a foundation and a skeleton for your final research project. I am going to be looking to see if you are applying the different pieces of the Ciceronian arrangement strategy. That will be our first video lecture when we come back from spring break on April 13th. I also want to see that you have a works cited page started. This will change as we go through our revisions, but I want us to stop being intimidated by documenting our sources and following rules for MLA guidelines. After you write your first draft, you'll receive 2 drafts in exchange, and you will write peer reviews for them. The directions for those peer reviews are in the handout. This is not going to be something that you just sort of willy-nilly do. I have a very structured approach to that, and I want to make sure you're following directions. We're doing this so you can compare your readings of similar texts, but also compare your progress with a peer. We want to identify issues in your peer's work and in your own. We want to proofread, and we want to edit. It's really important when you're learning to write that you see other works in progress. You teach yourself to write by seeing other people making the mistakes that you're making. You often don't see your own mistakes, but you'll see it when someone else is doing it, and we'll learn how to, I hope, write critical and kind reviews of one another's work. And we want to get your eyes primed for revision, because revision is something I take very seriously. All writers take revision very seriously if they hope to be successful at it. Our final draft will be due May 5th. Again, revision, 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 revision. If you resubmit a first draft, that is not going to be something that scores very well on our final scoring rubric. We want you to get into the habit of policing the area, looking around for typos, mechanics, grammar, usage, punctuation, and style. We don't want a whole lot of mistakes on this final project. And we want you to be reviewing the submission deadlines in the rubric, double and triple checking your work against what your audience's expectations are. Again, that final draft will be due on May 5th. So I've put together some scenarios. This is also in the handout that you'll be able to find on Connect. And you'll see if you go down the this column right here. Primer's worth 1.5, first draft is worth 2, peer reviews are worth 2.5, the final draft is worth 4. That all adds up to 10. You want to do every step, and I hope you'll see through looking at these scenarios, and again, this is also on the handout that I've uploaded to Connect, that it makes better sense for you to do every single step and get a bad score. You can see that this actually turns out to be a B, than it would to skip steps and get a good score. If you skip steps, you'll see in this scenario, just mathematically, a student that earns an A on the final paper but didn't take time to go through any of the process steps, they're not going to get as good of a score as the folks who actually do each thing. Very few students have ever earned as high as a 95% on a paper from me, period, let alone without doing any of this stuff that I've asked you to do. So this is just my way of demonstrating to you that the work and effort that you're going to apply to doing each of the steps is going to be worth more than just turning in a final draft without doing any of that stuff. So I want to encourage you to go through every step. Last thing I want to show you is on our Connect site where you can find this handout and how you're going to use it. So you'll go to our English 1102 page, and if you go to our final research essay section, beneath this video, you'll see this handout for the final research project. I have intentionally made it an open document that you can open in Microsoft Word or import into Google Docs. And when you open it, everything that I just went over in this presentation will be put down in writing. And our expectation is that you do the primer worksheet by typing your answers into the prompts. The primer worksheet will be posted to the classwork forum. Your first draft you'll write on your own. Make sure that it is saved as a PDF and uploaded no later than midnight. And then when you're doing your peer reviews, we want you to actually use this sheet to answer each of the prompts. You'll see that I've actually broken down the peer reviews into the parts of the Ciceronian arrangement strategy. I don't expect you to know that at this point, but after our video on April 13th, I hope you will understand it a little bit better. And I do want to encourage you, I'm going to go over how to write your peer reviews in another lecture later in this process, but I want us to get out of the habit of just saying yes and moving on. Instead, it's yes, it does provide textual evidence. Here's why. Here's how it works. No, it doesn't. Here's some suggestions that I have. It doesn't take much to point to something and say yes or no. We want you to get into the habit of saying yes, and here's how you make it better, or no, and here's how you make it better. We want you to be habituated to giving each other suggestions as opposed to just saying, no, it doesn't work and moving on. And then also in this handout, you'll have the rubric, and then that same math that I just gave you on that talk is available here as well. I want to encourage you to drop into the chat room if we have any questions, to contact me on the GroupMe chat, or if you'd like, send me an email and we can schedule a video chat. In the meantime, if you're watching this on Friday before spring break, do your best to rest over the next week. Don't go out, follow the rules, don't get sick, and I'm looking forward to talking to you guys when we get back from spring break. See you later.